Hello and welcome to the video. So the question today is, why would God resist a marriage? Because marriage is a good thing. It helps, as we've discussed, why to get married and what is marriage is a good thing. And people, it's not a sin to get married. And people who are struggling with lust and stuff like that should realistically have their own husband and have their own wife to contain that problem, because some people are gifted with singleness and they're able to stay single and stay content in there, and other people are just very much not so in that regard. So the question is, why would God resist a marriage? And I can talk, I suppose, from personal experience, and that's because, firstly, to join into a marriage, one has to be not just of one body, meaning that, you're attracted to them and you become one body through the union of bodies through the sexual act, but also to be of one spirit. So if you have a marriage that is entered by two people who aren't of the same spirit, then it's most likely going to wreak some kind of pain, suffering, and destruction. And so actually you'd be better off being outside of marriage while in different spirits, until the time does come where you are of one spirit, and then enter into marriage, so that you're not defiling the marriage, you're not destroying that institution and going for divorces and doing all this kind of stuff. So essentially, God will resist a marriage if it's better for you that it's not entered into with that person. So it's for the best. God will actually place obstacles in your way which may be overcome if you really tried. If you made enough deals with the devil, those obstacles could be overcome to get into that marriage. But when the obstacles are placed in your way by God, and it's just incredibly inconvenient to become married, then it's most likely a time to reflect, to take a step back, and to realize, okay, fine. And a great example here is between Rachel and Jacob. Jacob, father of Israel. Jacob, who was called Israel. And so Jacob met Rachel, and the minute he met her, he fell madly in love with her, kissed her, and started crying. Went to Rachel's dad, who I think was his uncle or something, and asked to marry her. And so in this situation, you've already got, that he's been intimate with her, perhaps not fornicated, but still has rushed and entered into this union, much like Adam and Eve did. So I don't think it's a bad, unnatural thing, but considering that they are now in a fallen world where there are processes to go to do certain things. So he goes to the uncle, asks to marry, and the uncle says, fine, you can marry my daughter, but only after you work for me for 7 years. So boom, there's an obstacle in his way. So what he could have done is stolen Rachel away, married her in some other country or in some other way, but it wouldn't really have been authorized by God. It wouldn't really be official and real. It would have been basically almost a perversion, but more a deception, and a lie overall. And so, because he loved Rachel so much, he did the 7 years work, and when the wedding day came, he lifts up the veil, and boom, it's Leah, her older sister. And he's like, what? I was supposed to marry Rachel, why have you done this? He says to the uncle, and the response was, look, in our culture, we marry off the oldest daughter first, so you can have Rachel now, but you're going to have to work another 7 years to officially have her. And so he was able to now live with Rachel. He's not officially married to her yet, and so they were most likely, committing that old dog together. And it was only after those 7 years was it officially authorized 100%, you're in a true marriage. And so you could say that marriage was resisted for a good 14 years, and there was a reason for that. If you look at the whole contextual story, there's the context of the brother in the other country who was mad at him, and after those 7 to 14 years he wasn't mad at him anymore, so he could go back to his country and it's okay. There was for him to build up, because he had literally just ran away from home after stealing essentially the blessing from his older brother, from his dying dad Isaac. There was the sense of creating wealth and stability and a name, that whole process in those 7 to 14 years. So God could have made it happen, he could have helped Jacob, and he did help Jacob. He gave Jacob strength. He made, you know, when they were doing the final ceremonies of leaving the family to go off back to the land in the holy matrimony, there was a whole process of counting the sheep or whatever, who's going to take what sheep, and God helped in that way to really prosper Jacob. And so, you know, it gave him life, gave him health. And so, yeah, those are the kind of reasons. So you really have to think like, oh man, I'm trying to get married, but it's not working out, and I really want it, and I'm stressing for it, and I know it's a good thing. You have to sit and realize what is the bigger picture, and how could God be actually helping you a lot more than if you were to just immediately get married. You could imagine that Rachel, after a while, this is just theory, she could have not liked the marriage because, you know, they would have been a vagabond couple, stolen away from home, and it was just a much more proper thing to what happened compared to what could have happened if they wanted to get their own way outside of the proper way of doing things, outside of going down the narrow, difficult and righteous path. So the question was, why would God resist marriage? And
essentially to prosper you. That's why he would resist it.